up, pretties? Welcome to Web Surreal. So I am doing part two to my palette battle, and we're doing this. I forgot to bring my questions. I don't have them pulled up. I should have done that before. So anyway, I will do this as we talk. I was supposed to do this like 2 days ago. I was supposed to already have like 3 videos up about from this, but it doesn't always work out that way, does it? And that's okay, that's just life. But okay, there you go. I have my questions now, and it's time for us to pick. Let's see what we got next. All right, here's two more. By the way, this was created by Sophie Alexandra. I have seen It's Just Steph do her own iteration of this, so FYI, I'm gonna leave them both out below. But we have At Foresight. Okay, I just used a ton of that palette. And Peach Pie. This is a bad matchup because it's gonna be an easy one as well. But let me pull them out and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So we've got Sigma Peach Pie, which is a little quad right here. And we have At Foresight, which is my version of At Foresight. It's a little different. These two shades are not original to this palette. But okay, so color story. Let's start with At Foresight. 5. I've said this before, but this isn't quite nearly my perfect palette. I don't know, quite love this shade here, but otherwise I love all of these colors and I think it's just perfect. So color story, 5. Different formulas and textures. There's not a lot of that. This one's a slight duochrome and this one's a slight duochrome, but it's from a different palette. But it's mattes and there's a shimmer. 3, I guess. 8. Then we have everyday usage. Now, to most people, this might not be an everyday palette. This is an everyday palette for me. And for that reason, I'm actually going to give it a 4. It's not my perfect everyday palette, but it's pretty close for me as a 4. So now we are at 12. Yeah. Inspiration. I get a lot of inspiration when I look at this palette. I feel like these are the kind of colors that just make it easy for me to try to make a look. So for me, this is going to be another 4. So 16. Okay. Formula. This is not Colourpop's best formula. And the reason I say that is because it's actually quite pigmented, a little too pigmented at a time, and it can be a little harder to blend out. I do find that the stamping motion can work best and then blend out the edges afterwards. But it's still not my favorite, and I think it's just all of the shades, even the light ones, are extremely pigmented. I think it's great if you have darker skin tone because I think you'd be able to see the colors. But if you're more medium like me or lighter, it might be a little too much. So I'm gonna give it a 3, so 19. But yeah, packaging. I actually think the packaging is cute. You know, it's like it has like all the little designs on it. It's cute. It's cute. I don't have a problem with the packaging, but I love that it's magnetic. You can pop them out. So I'm gonna give it a little 4. So we're at 23. And I'm okay with that. And then the feels. This gives me a lot of feels just because I just have very strong connection to this color story. I do like Robbie Christie, although she doesn't really do this kind of content anymore. And I'm not particularly inclined to her new content. That's okay. I still have a lot of nostalgic feelings towards her. So I'm gonna give it a 3, I guess. So 27. But I don't know. I don't know about this one, okay? And then Peach Pie. It's a little quad. So the color story. Honestly, this is a great color story, for just an everyday neutral palette. So I'm gonna give it a 4. Is generous, but okay. Different formula and textures. This is more of a paralyzed formula. This is a bit more of a metallic formula. So I guess there's a little bit of that, but not really. It's a 3. So we're 7. Everyday usage. This is an everyday palette. So we're going to give it a 5. So we're at 12. We're at the same spot where we were with the other palette now that I'm thinking about it. Okay. Inspiration. I don't have a lot of inspiration with this look at this palette. I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. There's not a lot. I'm going to do the same color combinations because there's not a lot of options here. But I'm either going to put this in the crease. Always going to put this all over the crease or maybe all over the lid. This is the liner, or this in the outer corner, or maybe this is all over the lid and make it like a smoky thing. That's pretty much much it. I might add some of that, but not a lot of inspiration for me. So I'm gonna give it 2. And okay, is that my 14 now? Formula. The formula's fine. Honestly, it's blendable. There's not a lot of fallout. You can build it up to a degree. You can't build this shade up too much, or this one for the matter. So I guess 3. I forgot where I was at. I think I'm 17 now. Okay, packaging. I mean, 3, 20. The feels. I don't have a lot of feels for this one. 22. Okay. At first sight, you've moved on to the next one. Let's see what else we got. All right. We've got Whimsical News. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about the palette, to be honest, just like in general. And Yaka. Oh, this is a really good matchup. I'll explain why soon. Okay. The reason why I think these two are a good matchup is because I think the color stories are a little similar. So you have Yaka over here. And then you have, love that for me. All right. And you have Whimsical News. And they're not like identical, but they do have a similar vibe. And I think that is, on screen it looks like I have pan on this, but there isn't. It's just very shimmery. But yeah, you see, they kind of have like similar vibes. Now, personally, I think this palette's a bit more complete because I do feel like there's something missing in this palette. I think it's missing a nice transition shade somewhere in between here. That was a little more neutral. But no, this is gonna be a hard one because I think both formulas are exceptional. Yeah. So let's start with Whimsical Nude since I have it up. So for color story, I mean, I just said it. This palette's missing that integral transition shade, I feel like. Because even though this one's buildable, it's missing a bit of that, like a good neutral brown. That's what it was missing. Or even if it was a little more chocolatey. This one's a little too warm for my taste. And it's also a bit more pigmented for a crease shade. So I feel like it's just missing that one shade in between those. So I'm going to give it a 3. But that's because I do love this. This 4 right here are so fabulous that I can't. I could have done without this cream shade and gotten that neutral shade instead, honestly. Different formulas and textures. She does have 2 different formulas in here. So she does have her traditional shimmer shade, which are those, and then she does have her glittery, ultra glittery kind of shades. They're really nice, these 2 right here. So there's a bit of a difference in texture. This one is a bit of a duochrome as well. I actually really like this palette. But it's a 3. And the only reason I'm saying 3 is because it's gone against Yaka, which has a significantly more textures. And sometimes it's not really about just the palette on its own. Sometimes it's what it's paired up against. And that was what it was for this one. So 3. Everyday usage. Because it's missing that transition shade, it's not an everyday palette for me. I think the top row was meant to be like an everyday usage kind of situation, but again, it's just missing that crease shade for my skin tone. This is too light. This one's too dark. So I just 2. Jesus, we are not doing great. Inspiration. This is just me trying to give it some brownie points. I'm gonna give a 4. And the only reason I'm saying that is because these 2 shades inspire me to do something with those 2 shades by themselves. And that's what it is. Formula. Formula, if you don't know this, the L'Oreal Los Angeles formula is phenomenal. A 5. I have no issues with the formula. The formula is great. Packaging. I mean, it's a basic bitch. I'm a basic bitch. I appreciate a basic bitch. But you also get basic bitch, ratings, and that's a 3. The feels. I don't have the feels. I don't have a strong attachment to this palette as I do to almost everything else that she has in her collection. 2. I didn't even do the math for this one because I already know Yaka's gonna blow it out. I just know it is, So it is what it is. Alright. Color story. This is, for me, the perfect undertone because I have an olive undertone. Some of these shades look really extreme, but on my skin tone, they just look perfect. And for that reason alone, if I'm gonna go for an olive, I almost always go for this kind of like more neutral greens. Sorry, not olive, greens. If I'm gonna go with greens, these are the kind of greens that I usually go for, which are more olives, more neutral, more muted. So 4. It's not a perfect color story, but 4. Different formulas and textures. There's a ton of different textures in here. Honestly, you do have the more glittery shades. You have duochromes. You have the creamy mattes. You have regular mattes. You do have the glittery shades. There's a lot here going on. So I am going to give it a 5 for different formulas and textures. I do think there's a lot of variety here when it comes to that. Everyday usage, as I mentioned before, this might not be the everyday usage for a lot of people, but some of these shades can look quite neutral on me because of my olive undertones. So you see that? It doesn't look quite green on me. It almost looks just like a dusty brown on my skin tone. And the reason for that is because I have an olive undertone. So it looks, like I said, I grabbed one of those green shades, but it looks brown on me. It looks like a diffused brown. And that's just color theory. So for me, this can be a very much so a neutral everyday palette. And I'm gonna give it a 4. Is it the most easiest to use neutral palette? No, but some of the shades can look very neutral on me. So for me, 4. Inspiration. Now, this is where I don't have the creativity for this palette. Because I see all these colors and sometimes I feel a little jumbled up. I'm not sure what I should be grabbing for, what I should be doing. And so I'm gonna give it a 3, only because I do have a hard time creating combinations that make sense for me. And I think it's just a little jumbled up. I can honestly just move them around. I have all of them named at the bottom. So like I have all of these named, so I could do that, but I haven't, I haven't like tried to rearrange it to make it more sense. Formula, Natasha Denona has 5 of this formula. We're gonna give it a 5. I have no issues with her formula, honestly, so 5. Packaging. I love the Natasha Denona packaging. I love that I can pop these out. I've mentioned this before, so 5, no problems. The feels, I don't have a lot of feels for this palette, to be honest. But I also don't have a lot of feels for most makeup in general. 3, I guess. I know for a fact that Natasha won this one, so it was not much of a competition for this one in particular. So let's grab 2 more. Keep going, because we're trying to get through as many of these as possible. All right, we have Wild Nothing and Nudie number 2. Another one that's not a fair fight, but here we are. That was interesting, but we're back. Oh goodness. Okay, so we have Nudie number 2 and Wild Nothings. Now, my Wild Nothings looks nothing like the actual Wild Nothings from ColourPop, and the reason for that is because except for these 2 shades and this one's right here at the bottom, everything else is from other ColourPop palettes. So keep that in mind. And I have my Nudie number 2, which is this one right here. Now, this is why this is hard. If it was just like pure instinct, I think I would go from Wild Nothings. But I think is the actually going through all the categories where I think Laura Lee might just jump ahead. And it's purely because of the way the categories are structured. And that's why this is different from my previous years. But here we go. Let's go with Nudie number 2. Hold on, I have to put my phone on silent because my group chats are blowing up right now. All right, color story for Nudie number 2. I'm gonna give it a 4. Okay, this is just not my personal preference. I said this before. I just don't love pinks all that much. I do think this is the right amount of pinks, but this is just not my favorite kind of shades. But before, the reason why I'm saying that is because this is the most beautiful neutral. This is the most beautiful neutral. This is, if I'm gonna go with a pink, this is actually the kind of pink, because it looks kind of really pink right here, but it's actually quite, it's quite muted. I don't know how to say it. This, I could give or take, and the shimmers in here, gorgeous. These 2 look kind of similar, but they're really not. This is more of like a glittery kind of topper situation, and this is more of a bronze. So they're actually quite different, even though they look kind of similar. So see that they do look quite different, even though they look similar in the pan. So color story, I'm gonna give it a 4. I think there's a little more to it than you might have thought. Different formulas and texture. This little 10-pan palette has so many different formulas. It's crazy. So you do have a Paralyzed, you have actual shimmers, you have a sequin, you have her glittery formula, you do have her classic shimmer shades, those are the 2 right here. This glitter formula was gorgeous. The mattes are beautiful. The sequin here is, it actually looks really glittery on camera. It's not that glittery in person, but you can actually see it when you lay it down. This is one of those like true sequins where you're gonna see the glitter, but it's most definitely a matte with those little glitters in it. But you see, you actually can see it. So textures, formulas, 5. Killed it with the formulas. The formula here is top notch. Everyday usage. This can be an everyday palette. It's not my preference of colors, but I can make it an everyday palette because of these 2 shades right here. I can 100% make this an everyday palette. So I'm gonna give it another 4 here. I'm not really sure where we're at. I think I'm at like, I think I'm 14. It's kind of high. Okay, inspiration, 3. This palette does not give me a lot of inspiration. I look at it and I always kind of want to do the same thing, which is put these all over my crease and then grab one of the shimmers and put it all over the lid, and that's pretty much it. So inspiration, not there. Okay, so I guess maybe a 2 would be more accurate. Okay, I was what, at 14 before? Was I? No, that's not mathing. 4 and 5, 8 and 4, 12. Gosh. 14 now with this too. Formula, blendability and fallout. Lara Los Angeles has 5 list formula, 5, so 19. Packaging, I could give or take, honestly. It's just a basic bitch, 3. So 22. And the feels, I don't have a lot of feels for this one. 3, 25. It's kind of leave it at that. All right, then we go on to this one. If this was the original palette, I probably would have given it a 3. This version of the palette, I essentially pulled out all of my favorite shades from all of my palettes. So I love this color story, so we're gonna give it a 5. But it's only because it has all of my favorite shades, you know? Then you have different formulas and texture, non-existent. We're going with a solid 2. You have a matte and a couple of shimmers, and there's a 1 sequin, but this sequin, unlike the Lara Los Angeles, is not a true sequin. Those glitters will fall out and you will not see them on your lid. So 2. So 5, 7. Everyday usage. This is my favorite everyday palette. If I could use this bottom row or even some of these like every day, I absolutely would. I love this palette. So 5. So 12. Inspiration, 3. 15. I don't know if I'm inspired by it, but I just enjoy using it. So I always find it easy to make an eye look with it. And I feel like I'm using an inspiration very loosely every time I do this because it's hard for me to explain it. Some palettes inspire me to go outside of it, and some palettes just inspire me to reach for them, and I'm kind of using that interchangeably. This palette is one of those where it just inspires me to use it, and so I'm giving it a 3. Formula, 3. Is this good ColourPop formula? Yes. Is it Lara Los Angeles formula? No. There's a difference. It takes a little longer to build. It takes a little longer to blend. It takes just a little bit longer to get the desired effect. And because of that, I'm giving it a 3. It's just, it is what it is. I don't even know where I'm at, to be honest. Packaging. I love this packaging. Okay, I love the little cacti with the little flowers sticking out. I love that this is magnetic and I can pull it out. So 5. Packaging's fine. The feels are there. It's total 5. The feels are everything for me in this palette, and I think it's mostly because it was curated by me. I essentially got rid of a bunch of palettes and just pulled out all of the shades that I enjoy from those palettes, and I just put them all here. So like these 2 are from the Yes Please. This one, and this one. Actually, these 3 are from the Yes Please. These 3 are from the Sweet Nothings palette, and then everything else is from the actual Wild Nothing. So I think this one won. I honestly didn't do the math very well and I did not keep up with it, but I think this one won. Alright, we have to pull up a couple more. Let's see what else we got. I'm going a little faster this time around than I did last time. I feel like I took way too long last time. Natural number 1. I actually just pulled this one out. And the Zendo. Ooh. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting. Okay, I'm back. The reason why I think this one's gonna be interesting is because I do think this is one of those where I feel like the the categories are gonna dictate how this is gonna go, and I am gonna have to keep track of these numbers because I feel like that's what's gonna be determined. I don't feel very strongly one way or the other because I think there's a lot of good points for both palettes. But here we are. Color Story. Let's start with Scott Barnes. Color Story, for me, this is the perfect neutral palette. You go from, actually that's a duochrome, from very light all the way to very dark. I think you have everything in between from cool, neutral, and then a little bit of like those pinky undertones. But I think this is the perfect neutral. Sorry, I know it's a little glaring. There you go. I do think this is the perfect neutral palette. So for Color Story, I'm gonna give it a 4. It's not my favorite, but it is a 4. I am having some technical issues and I really don't want to refilm this. So, especially because I've already put palettes away and I've moved pizzas around. So I think I'm just gonna finish this and just call it after this. And then I'm gonna see if I can edit it and piece it all together. Because if I can piece it all together, I don't know how this is gonna work out. And then, so then this is gonna be the last 2 that I'm doing today. So let's finish Scott Barnes. So I was talking about different formulas. There's a bunch of different formulas and textures here actually, and it doesn't quite look like it because it looks a little flat. And that honestly is the beauty of this formula. Oh my goodness, this lighting though. The beauty of this formula is that it is so soft and it looks like it's just gonna, it honestly blends itself. This is a beautiful, beautiful formula. It is the easiest shadows that I own to blend out. They have so much pigment and then they blend, chef's kiss. They're buildable, it's gorgeous. And the textures look soft and they look all very diffused, but there's actually quite a bit of differential between them. And it's just very interesting because I don't, usually when I think of like glitter, I'm thinking like very thick, but the glitters here are so thin. It's easy. Anyway, different formulas and textures, we're giving it a 5. Everyday usage, I mean, this is an everyday palette if we've ever seen one. So 5. Inspiration, I have a hard time looking at this palette, and I think it's because there is a lot going on, and I don't usually have that issue with neutral palettes or with large palettes, to be honest, but I have a hard time with this palette, like putting it together. And I don't know if it's the arrangement, and I've seen his video. He created it to make quads. Every way you look at it, you can make a quad every way you go. But I have a hard time, I don't know why it is, I have a really hard time with this palette. So I'm gonna give it a 2, but it just gives me writer's block. I don't know how else to say it. God, that made me look so yellow. Formula, blendability, fallout, like I said, the Scott Barnes formula is top notch. It's expensive bitch, but she's top notch. It blends easier and it's more buildable than Natasha Denona. What he's lacking is his shimmers. But his shimmers don't give you any fallout. They're easy. They hit you with a bang from the get-go, but they're easy to like, you know, move around and mess with. So I honestly, formula top notch. I have nothing bad to say about it. 5. Packaging. I don't love the packaging. It's a little bit like, it's bulky. It's, you know, like that glare though. I don't, it's just cardboard. It's, I mean, it has a nice big mirror and it does, the pans don't pop out. So I'm gonna give it the 3, I guess. It's just a cardboard. Like it's easy. Colourpop does this. And at least there's just magnetic. The feels, I have no feels. Okay, 2. I don't know. I because of everything happening, I'm not really sure where my points are at. But let's say Color Story, I think I get a 4. Different formulas, I give it a 5. So then a 9. Everyday usage, another 5. So 14. Inspiration, I mentioned I struggle with this one. I think I said 3. 17. Formula, 5. 22. Packaging, 3. I mean, 25. The feels, no feels, 27. Okay. Zendo. For Color Story, I actually love this Color Story. I hate this red. But other than that, I actually love this Color Story. I love how it's divided between like neutrals and warms. And then you have like the more colorful shades over here. So we're going to give it a 5. I love this Color Story. And that's actually the reason why I chose this palette, because of the color story, if I'm being honest. Because a lot of her palettes look very like one note, and I wasn't spending $65 on a one note palette. So I decided to go with something a little different. So I chose this one. So 5. Different formulas and textures. This one, out of all of the Natashas, does not have the most variety. She has a creamy one. She does have a regular mattes. She does have, most of them are just like her regular shimmers. She has one duochrome. So I'm gonna give it a 4, but it's not her best in like different textures. That's not where this one excels, if I'm being honest. So we're 8 right now. For everyday usage, I love this palette for an everyday usage. I think it's perfect for an everyday usage. I think it has all of the colors that I would go for in an everyday. So I'm gonna give it a 4. Why can't I think? I'm usually good at math. 13. Okay, inspiration. We're gonna give it another 4. So 17. The reason why I'm saying that is because I personally find it very easy for me to reach for this palette. I find it very easy for me to create different looks that I wouldn't particularly normally would go for. So 17. Formula 5. 22. I have no complaints about Natasha Denona's formula. It's honestly really, really nice, and I like it. The only thing I wish is that this was a little darker, but other than that, I have no problem with it. 22. For packaging, 5. I've mentioned this before, but I love the Natasha Denona packaging. I love that I can take these out. I love that I can rearrange them. I think they're not as sturdy. They're heavy, luxurious. Has a nice big mirror. 5. So that actually puts it at 27. So this one by default is gonna have to win because the feels, the lowest I can give him is a 1, and that will put it at 28. So I actually got a lot of feels for this one. It's my first Natasha Denona palette, and obviously that sparked a love for me because I have a ton of Natasha Denona palettes now. We're gonna give it a 4. So that would put us at 31. Yeah, Natasha Denona wins. Okay, we have what I'm hoping would be one more video, but I probably not. I really feel like I need to try to do 2 more just to try to get through this because it's not looking good. I feel like I'm never gonna get done to through this palette at this rate. So I have the Mini My Dream palette, and I have the So Jaded. That is an unfair because we all know where it's gonna go. All right, give me a sec. If you've never been on my channel, you will not know this, but the So Jaded palette has consistently been one of my favorite palettes for many, many, many years. So when I say this, that I already know the winner before we even got started, I'm telling you, I already know the winner before we even got started. And that I can tell you right now, it's going to be So Jaded. So this one was an uneven, unfair fight. You know, she came with a knife to a gunfight. But we're just gonna get through it, you know? So we're gonna start with Natasha Denona So Jaded. Natasha Denona Mini My Dream. And color story, I actually love this little tiny color story. I think it's gorgeous. We're gonna go with a 5. This is a perfect neutral everyday palette. Like, there's no complaints here. None. Different formulas and textures. We don't have them, okay? We just don't have them. This is gonna be a 3. You got the shimmers, you get the mattes. That's it. There's not much more than that. Shimmers and the mattes. 3. It's a basic bitch. Everyday usage is a basic bitch. We're going with a 5. So we're at 13 right now. But this is an everyday palette. You could easily create, like, just like rearrange them a million different ways and create, you know, everyday looks every single, you know, day without any issues whatsoever. Inspiration. And this is one of those where I have to compare it to the So Jaded, right? Because this is the whole thing. I'm gonna go with a 3. Normally, this is a very easy palette for me to like, reach for, but it doesn't particularly inspire me, and that's where the So Jaded can do both, and that's why I'm going with a 3. No! I just dripped and it fell on my finger. Damn it. At least it consoles me to know that I actually have a duplicate of that shade because it is actually my favorite shade. What a shame. Truly, what a shame. Okay, so everyday usage or inspiration, I said 3, right? Okay. Formula, 5. I've said this before, I have no issues with the Natasha Denona formula, so 5. Packaging. Honestly, for $27, this is cheap. This is cheap. This one's don't pop out like the other Natasha Denona, and it's so easy to break these. Because I have another one. I have multiple. I have three of these little ones, and I have one that's already cracked. I mean, for $27, you gotta step it up. Like, you know what I mean? So we're going to. I have a lot of issues with this packaging. The feels. I'm gonna give it a solid 3. I have 4. I'm gonna give it 4. I have very happy thoughts about this in general. So I'm gonna give it a 4. I have no idea where I'm at because obviously we had to take a little break, but it really doesn't matter because I know for a fact So Jaded is gonna just blow it out the park. Even though I know 2 categories are gonna be a little lower. Yeah. All right. So color story. This is not quite the same color story that it normally would be. So these 2 shades are actually from the Proceed with Caution. I do have this shade in a different little palette because I'm trying to hit pan on it. But this is actually like the Super Shock kind of shade. But these 2 shades are not original from this palette. But I do think they fit quite right. Everything else is original to here. Okay, so color story 5. I love this. If I only were to have one palette, this is a palette that I would want to have. I have everything. I have the greens that I love, have cool tones, I have more colorful shades. And if I'm gonna go for the blue, this is the kind of blues that I'm gonna go for. I might not touch that, to be honest. Purples, you have pinky shades, you have warm, you have the reddish shimmery, like you have everything you can think of in this palette, to be honest. It's a perfect palette. Different formulas and textures. There's a lot actually going on here. You do have some duochromes, you do have some like regular shimmers, you have Paralyzed, you have duochrome right here, you have sequin shades. There were glitters, I did take them out, and then my Super Shock is in a different place, but it is technically goes here. So I think different formulas and textures, we're going with a solid 4. I just feel like could there be more? Yes. But is there a good mix? Absolutely. This is a solid 4. Everyday usage, this could be an everyday palette for me because there's so many different combinations I can go. If I wanted to do something a little more colorful, I could. If I wanted to do something a little more neutral, I could. Just perfect every day. You have all of the muted shades that you need that I love. Transition, crease, deepening shades, you would just have it all right here. No complaints. So everyday usage, 5. Inspiration, 5. I love this palette. Every time I look at it, I want to try different combos and also not just like the different combinations. Like it makes me want to explore outside of my comfort zone, but it also has all the easy ones that I can always just go back to, you know? So 5 for inspiration. For formula, the ColourPop formula, this is top-notch ColourPop, and it's still not Natasha. 4. But it's top-notch ColourPop, to be honest. It really is. Packaging. I actually like the packaging. For a 30 pen palette, this is actually quite compact, and I do love that you can pop these out, you know, and I can rearrange them if I wanted to. So absolutely I could, I love the packaging. I like all the little stones on it. I like the muted purple. So I'm going to give it a 4 for packaging. For the feels, 5. I've loved this palette for many years and it still holds a dear place in my heart. So we're going with 5. And that's kind of how that one went. And I told you, this was an unfair fight for Mini My Nude. Like, she did not come prepared for this one. And I really want to do one more because I feel like I can finish. That would be enough where I can do all of these left in one video. And this is it because we got to wrap this up, you know? We really do. Jaclyn Hill. Okay. And I Need a Warm palette. Interesting. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about both palettes. So, I don't know. I Need a Warm. Here we go. And Jaclyn Hill, I have it up here. Ugh. Let's see. Let's start with Jaclyn. So, color story. I'm going to give it a 4. 1, this could have been a 20 pound palette. It did not need to be 35. But the biggest issue is that for how big this palette is, I find myself needing something else. Like, for example, these 2 did not need to be both Paralyzed. This could have honestly used for one of them being a matte. You know what this palette needs? Because it has 3 pink shades, it could have used a little soft mauve muted pink or something in a matte, like a transition. So it was missing that crease shade. It has a bunch of crease shades, but not fucking pink. Are you kidding me? So like I just find myself like needing like little things. I'm like, for how big you are, you need to have everything, you know? Like that's why I feel like the Sojade has everything. I don't need to reach for anything else. And everything I need is right there. Not with this palette. So, color story. You know, we're gonna give it a 4. It was almost there, but just didn't quite make it. Different formulas and textures. I mean, that's just not what Morphe is known for. You have mattes, you have shimmers. That's it. So 3. You have everyday usage. This could be a very easy everyday palette, so we will give it a 5 for that one. So what are we at? 5, 3, 8, and color story was 4, 12. Okay. And for inspiration, this is one of those where it's like easy to reach for. That's the kind of inspiration that I'm going for. So we're gonna give it a 3. And honestly, it's because the percussion is so big. It's just, it doesn't always make me want to reach for it. It's just so big. So we are at 15. For formula, this is nice Morphe formula, to be honest. This is top-notch Morphe because I've had not so great Morphe. This is top-notch Morphe. It blends easy. It's pigmented. It doesn't have a bunch of fallout. It sticks to the lid just fine. It does crease a little bit, but you know, you take that as you will. So I'm gonna give it a 3 for that. So 20? Yeah. 20. Packaging 2. 22 or 22. It's just too fucking big. It's too big. The feels. Actually, I have a lot of feels when it comes to this palette. It's one of my oldest palettes. I still have very strong attachment. Honestly, if I'm being very, very honest, I don't watch Jaclyn Hill. I've never watched Jaclyn Hill. I know there's a lot of controversies about her, and I've heard of it. I don't personally think she's a good person, but I just have no feelings about her in general. Like, I was never a fan of hers. I think the most I ever saw of Jaclyn Hill was when she was in other YouTubers' channels, like Laura Lee and Manny MUA, or what was, I can't, James Charles. I think she was in James Charles' video once, and I think I saw that one for whatever reason. So I just have no feelings about Jaclyn Hill, so I'm completely detaching her from this palette because I didn't buy this palette. When I bought this palette, I didn't even know who she was. So I have no feels towards her when I think of this palette. This is one of my first palettes that I ever owned that actually like really made me fall in love with eyeshadow. So that alone, I'm going to give it a 5. And I kind of forgot where I was at map-wise, but I don't think it's going to matter because I think Natasha might just win this one. So yeah. All right, so for color story, we're gonna go with a 4. Okay. It was missing something in the mattes. I just can't tell you what it is yet. I don't know what it is that it's missing for me, but it's missing something, and I just don't know what it is. But it's missing. But so I'm gonna give it a 4. Different formulas and textures. There's actually quite a bit of different formats. So she does have a multi-chrome. She has a dual chrome. She does have some of those glittery, softer shades. She has her regular shimmer formula. She has this where I don't know how to explain it, but I love it. It's like it's almost like it feels like a paralyzed, but there's a lot of pigmentation on it. And it's very beautiful, and I love putting that all over the lid. So I think there's quite a bit of variety here. She does have some of those creamer shades here. So we're gonna give it a 5 for that. For the everyday usage, I mean, this is a basic bitch if we've ever seen a basic bitch. 5. Inspiration, I think the ease of usage with this palette is so easy that it just inspires me to keep grabbing it. No harms there. So editing this video is gonna be a bitch. But let's just finish this and get it over with. So for inspiration, we're gonna give it a 4. It's just easy to grab for. For formulas, really followed out. We said this before. Natasha, no, you're a 5, bitch. You got this. Packaging, I like this packaging. I think it's cute. It has like the modern aesthetic. I love that you can pop these out. I think it's heavy, sturdy, has a big mirror on it. You can just kind of leave it there and it's fine. So we're gonna give it a 5. For the feels, I don't have a lot of feels for this palette. We're gonna give it a 3. Like I don't have a strong attachment to it, and it's probably because it's relatively new in my collection. I mean, it just came out last year, and I haven't used it a ton since then, if I'm being honest. It still looks pretty new. So we're gonna give this one we're gonna give it a 3. And honestly, even the thing, like Jaclyn was like very inconsistent. This one was very steady, kind of high. So we're gonna give this, I think this is the one that passed along. And we're gonna have to call it, y'all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.